Thank you for all of those joining in today for today's open session of our Growth Committee meeting on March the 16th. So we'll call the meeting to order. First item is just to approve the minutes of February the 16th, 2021. Thank you, Deputy. Seconded by Councillor McKenzie. Thank you for that. On the question, all those in favor? Thank you. And anybody contrary minded? Not seeing any. The motion is carried. Thank you. Next up, we have back is our most popular Growing in St. John series. Item 1.2 on our agenda. And I'm going to ask Mr. David Dobbelstein, please, to come online and introduce.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of Growth Committee. I'm pleased
item 1.2 on our agenda. I'm going to ask Mr. David Dobbelstein, please, to come online.
Ymca is an immigrant entrepreneur originally from Egypt. She's a proud single mom with 3 beautiful kids. She immigrated here from Saudi Arabia through the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program in 2018 and quickly became a permanent resident. She has a Bachelor of Education from Cairo University, and she was able to volunteer as a teaching assistant at the Ymca while she got started here while gaining her teaching English as a second language certificate. And then she started her BBA at UNB St. John. She participated in the HIVE program, or the Business Immigrant Essentials program, that was offered through Edge St. John, which we now know as Envision St. John, which assisted her in opening her business, which we know as the Women's Zone Social Club, a clothing store and social club for women. While entrepreneurship is her passion, she also believes it's her responsibility to educate women in Greater St. John about politics, anti-racism, and health. So welcome, Hibatella. The floor is yours.
You're just breaking up a little bit.
Everybody hear at all?
Yeah, I think you're frozen, Jennifer. Maybe just turn your camera on and off. You're frozen for a moment there, I think. There you go, I think.
Okay, and do you hear us now?
Yes, we can, yep.
Did everybody hear? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mr. David, for this introduction. Good morning and good afternoon, Your Worship and the Councillor. Thank you very much for having me today, and it's a really pleasure to be here and to have the opportunity talking about myself. My name is Hibatella Mohammed. I'm a single mom with 3 kids, originally from Egypt and immigrant to Canada from Saudi Arabia 2018. I've been here for a couple years. I earned my bachelor's degree from education from Cairo University. After that, I traveled to Saudi Arabia. And despite, I live a really high quality life in Saudi Arabia, but I couldn't feel like I'm belonging to this place because I couldn't have the ability. I don't have the right to own a house. I don't have the right to own a business because I'm Egyptian living in Saudi Arabia. Even my kids don't have the right to attend public school or to have a Medicare insurance coverage or something. So that's why I decided to immigrate to Canada, because Canada is fair. So let me guys do share my screen with you. We're just going to share the screen just a sec. Okay, just a sec. Do we have the ability to share the screen? I just want to make sure. Yes, okay. Okay, does everyone see the screen?
It's not yet, but it looks like it's probably in the process, Jennifer.
Okay, just let us know when you can see it. It should say why I decided to immigrate to Canada.
Not yet, no.
Okay, we do have it on our screen, so I'm not sure. Richard might need to come join us, perhaps. Richard,
there we go, it's up.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, over to Hibatella. This is a picture for some photos for my kids. The first one for my kids is the first step in St. John. This is St. John Airport. And the second photo for my kids, the first day in school. And the other photos for my kids in one exchange after school program. And it's, by the way, have amazing programs and activities after school. It's completely free. We don't pay for after school this program, One Exchange, in the Nick Nicole Community Center. And how I immigrant to Canada, I sent my resume to the government of the New Brunswick, and I asked for, I'm interested and I'm excited to immigrant to live in Canada, and I get a response back by invitation from the government invitation for the session in Dubai. So I had to travel from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to Dubai to attend to the session, and this session was a great opportunity to know more and to learn more about the New Brunswick and about city of St. John. And after that, the slide number 2. Why I choose St. John and nowhere else, because I have a lot of reasons. Like first of all, Canada is fair. I have not only the ability to own a business, but also I received a lot of support and help from the government, and also the money alone to start my business. And also because of local St. Johners are friendly, helpful, and supportive. And as well, the cost of living here is not too expensive. It's low comparing with the other provinces and cities. And as well, the medical insurance covered for myself and my kids from the first day in the province. And it's looking for better life education for my kids and myself as well. And also, I fell in love with St. John. Has a really fascinating landscape. It's like a piece of paradise. So I really love, proud of my decision to immigrant to Canada and to choose St. John as a home for myself and for my kids too. And in slide 3, I also want to mention that before I coming to Canada, I prepare and plan well. When you have the responsibility of the 3 kids, you don't have, you don't want to be any risk. So I contact with my community here before I come to St. John. I rent a house, a furnished house for a year. I apply for my kids of their school. While we're in Saudi Arabia, we didn't come yet. And even I planned for people to come pick us up from the airport until home. Even my home was completely prepared, and my fridge was full of halal food as well. And after that, I wanna share with you all the support and helpful from the government in the 3 levels. Federal, provincial, and municipal government with all this program and amazing organization helped the newcomer a lot to establish their life and to be succeed. First of all, the federal government. I have a couple of weeks ago. I had a meeting with Mr. Long, and I'm really happy. At the beginning, I was like, talking formally, and I was like a little bit nervous. But he was let me feel like comfortable, make me more comfortable, and we shared a lot of discussion about the educating women in entrepreneurs here in the city. And as well, I'm really proud of of having someone like Mr. Dontanek to educate us to the government. And in the municipal government as well, I had a meeting with Mr. Dontanek while I'm attending the High Business Program to educate my community from newcomer. And I miss that thing in my home country. We are not, contact and work with the government directly. So this is something I'm really proud of. And also, Mr. Don Darling asked us, what you need to have your to make your life here successful. What you need to make your life here easier. This is something I really appreciated. And also the provincial government, Minister Arlene Tan, she's really helpful and supportive. And Mr. Ayman Jawni, helpful, doesn't matter. When I ask him anything, it doesn't matter, it's related on his job, he really helpful and friendly. And there is another organization that we already have a lot of support, like the YMCA. It's a really great place that as a newcomer, we can connect there and socialize. And I already received a lot of help and support from YMCA, especially Mr. Al Abdelaziz, the settlement counselor of the team leader. And also the newcomer center. There is a lot of helpful programs there, like Useful Friday. They educate us about tax filing and about the language. If you need to study language like English or French language or something, and there is a really supportive and great lady there. Her name is Lina Gharbia for sure, and I really feel like I'm very lucky to attend a program like Hive Business Program. Because, you know, in this program with the monitor, Matt George, Mr. George, there, and a lot of advisors, they teach us how to study the market, how to, you know, target the customer, how to make our network, like connecting with a lawyer, accountant, brokers, even how to establish your business plan and cash flow. And after that, to aid economic development of Greater San John, helped me also to establish my business, and I applied for a loan, and I got a loan to start my business here. So I'm not having the right only to have a business here in San John, but also helped me a lot to establish my my business, and also found me with the loan. And there are also, and at last and not least, I have a really help and the support from local San Johner, especially my best friend. Her name is Andrea. You know, she taught me a lot of things and the behaviors, like accepting others. You know, because most of San John are here friendly and accept you. I feel accepted. Whatever your language, your background, your color, they accept others. And this is something really nice. And so I feel like I owe to my community. I'm trying to pay, you know, try to paying a pack, anything like donate from time to time with some clothes from my store. And I'm really proud of my business being a part of the economic growth of St. John. By you know, creating some job opportunities and attract online customers, not only across Canada, from Halifax, Nova Scotia until to Vancouver, British Columbia, but also I have a couple of customers in US, Ohio, and Texas, Michigan. And here's some photo for my satisfied customers. This is in my store at 320 Main Street in North. So, and in slide 5, I just wanna talk more about my business. It's not a clothing store. It's also a social club for women to socialize, to exchange their experiences and the culture, and to educate each other about, you know, health and anti-racism, political. And I believe also it's my responsibility to educate people and to educate women about their rights. And also to educate people overseas, people who was excited and interested to know more about Canada, about lifestyle in Canada, about immigrants to Canada. I have already my successful experience of immigration to Canada, and as well establishing a life here and a business here in Saint John, Canada. So I feel like it's my responsibility to share and educate people overseas about all of this. So I Also started a YouTube entertainment and educational channel to educate people overseas about lifestyle and living in Canada generally and in St. John especially. So, and I really want to thank you very much, your worship and your counselor, about having me today, and for your appreciate time spending hearing, a little bit of my story. This is something I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I think you've just given us the entire recipe that we need to attract more people, more energy, new ideas, new entrepreneurs to our great city. Thank you so much today for your presentation. You did a very, very good job of presenting why St. John, what has worked for you, what supports have worked for you, and you were gracious in thanking all those that have been supportive of you. Very inspirational, and it's so nice to hear that you have clients from the U.S. and all over Atlantic Canada. So congratulations. Thank you very much. And I'm sure we'll be back in touch with you for some commercials. Perhaps you can star in the commercials.
Thank you very much. I'm really proud of being here and for choosing St. John as a home for myself. And I'm happy to answer any question that you need to ask.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're very tight on time today, so we may come back to you with some questions from the committee, but thank you so much for your presentation.
Thanks.
Cheers. Okay. All right. Can I have just a receive and file, please, committee? Thanks, Deputy and Councillor McKenzie. Thanks. All those in favor? Thank you. Anybody contrary-minded? Thanks. Sorry to rush through that committee. That was an excellent presentation. We just need to keep moving here. Next up, we have a strategic planning update from Mr. Ian Fogan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll try to be as brief as possible. I'll bring up the slideshow that was included in the kit just to walk through it. Okay. There it goes. Just to confirm, everybody can see that? Okay, thank you. So I will be quick, but this is just basically to bring growth and later on in the month I'll update for Finance Committee as well, but just to bring them up to date on where we are on our process. First slide is just the direction from Common Council back last year. So the strategic plan, just to remind committee, what we're trying to do is really define the vision and try to define what does success look like. What do we want to be in a decade? And the plan really provides a roadmap on how we get there. So this is the planning process is the process we're going to take in order to define what that vision is and what are the steps we're going to take. So why is it important? Well, as we all know, we have a lot of plans, and a lot of them we have accomplished a lot of pieces of them. There's been a lot of implementation on some of them, like the Vision 2015 document. When I was reviewing that, it's surprising that we don't circle back and let you know how much we have done, but nearly everything in that plan has been implemented, and good to see. What the strategic plan will do is hopefully pick up all the long-term strategic plans which we have, which something we see on the slide, incorporate them into one plan so we have an eye on when are components of the Move SJ being adopted, when are components of the Central Neighborhood Plan being adopted, and they'll all exist in the strategic plan in a 10-year plan. Up to date, the committee has given some input on several pieces, including our project plan timeline, the components of the plan. Growth is a priority, which I'm sure this committee should be pretty familiar with, but we're focusing on the short term as growth is a priority, because hopefully in the long term, what the strategic plan really should contain what you enhancing quality of life. That should be the end goal of what we want to do for our community. But in order to obtain that, we really need to get growth going. And if we obtain that steady growth, you won't see many references to growth in future strategic plans, so it hopefully will become more of an assumption, and our goals will be more aligned with trying to enhance quality of life. They've adopted some guiding principles of their planning process. We have a vision, mission, goals, and a communication plan. And currently, the committee is in the middle of hearing some advice from some selected consultants around growth ideas. They had presentations last week, and we're going to have a follow-up session this coming week on feedback. So again, I'm sure this committee is probably familiar with this, but why the focus on growth? This is an illustration that we're playing with. Growth is a benefit to our population. It can lead to lead to more revenue, which either we apply for decreased property tax or we increase municipal services. Either way, it's a benefit to our populace, and that's part of what we want to try to communicate and why we're focusing on growth through our strategic plan. There are some elements that are supporting requirements for growth. You're familiar with these as well, so I won't spend any time on them. Tax reform, regional cost sharing, our culture, reputational issues, and also our governance performance management. Oftentimes we don't think of performance management as key for growth, but it is. Being able to show that value and being able to show how we're a high-performing community and organization. And also population growth is very key as well. So in the committee has adopted this framework, vision, mission, goals, objectives, and initiatives, and supporting that once we get down to that initiative level. Outside of that plan, we will have implementation plans supported by annual work plans, which are done more at a staff level, which will all be aligned, which is why they're displayed this way in that visual. The vision that we're working with, and you see at the top here, it says evolving through our planning process. We don't plan a final adoption of any of these wordings until the plan is complete. Some of these things will change. We've already gotten some feedback. We're showing you the current iteration, but it will change. And it was included in the kit. I won't read it. But in the sections of the plan, we have included 4 goals: a vibrant St. John, a prosperous St. John, accountable St. John, and a serving St. John, with their definitions here. Any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer, but this is the summary of the plan. So this is just a visual we wanted to develop to kind of show how it all links together, how our vision links with our mission, how the guiding principles have led to the goals we've established, how they link to our council current existing priorities as well. So a little update as to where we are now. What are we doing now? After the committee has given us some direction on goals and the vision and mission, we are now conducting workshops with the service areas. Those will be to refine the objectives and initiatives. And on the bottom part of the slide, you see where we have the goal of prosperous. Well, an objective. There'll be multiple objectives under that goal, but one objective under that goal, as an example, it says we will have a growing economy while ensuring cities, organizations' 2015 carbon footprint is reduced by 20% by 2025. That's one of the objectives that will lead to a prosperous. And under that objective, then there's several initiatives. You can see them here: continue integration of community energy plan, continue integration of corporate greenhouse gas reduction plan, a possibility of converting city and transit fleet to electric or viable, a complete governance model for a community energy plan. And also you see a 10-year timeline where we would say, those initiatives should be completed within those years, or aligned to those years. And you'll see some of them may be short-term, some of them will be long-term in order to get adopted. But part of the whole goal, again, is to show how those initiatives link to our objectives, link to our goals, link to the vision and mission, and when are we doing it, so we never lose sight of it. And I will say also the refinement will probably be several iterations of objectives and initiatives between staff and committee before we have a good product to move forward with. So our next update, currently we're integrating advice from consultants and working through the financial and service implications for our 10-year objectives or initiatives, along with their supporting implementation. So that will take some time. Likely the next update for growth and finance committees will likely to occur in June, after we've gone through the refinement of the objectives and initiatives. With that, I'll stop sharing and open for any questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ian. To the Growth Committee, getting quite a bit of echo to the Growth Committee. Just Ian and has really been leading with his team, done a tremendous amount of work so far, and then the Strategic Planning Committee itself has been absorbing a tremendous amount of information, and we're circling back, as Ian said, this week just to have more broad discussion from the consultants' reports last week. I think Ian's approach and his team's approach to small engagements with a wide range of consultants was excellent. I think they gave us some broad perspective. So, Ian, just before we open it up to questions, can you speak to public engagement? When will we take a straw person, sort of what we're thinking out to the public, and what will that engagement look like?
Yeah, I think we need to have a good idea. I think from a high level, if we went now with the goals, it wouldn't mean a whole lot to the public. What we need to have is a good solid set of objectives and initiatives to really have that discussion. And I think until we, right now staff are looking at the objectives and initiatives. We're going to come back to committee. We have to develop the financial implications and service implications. So really, we have to know, if we were to say, I don't know, increase your sidewalk service as an example. Where's the service, being enhanced? Where's the cost being absorbed? What's the effect on other services? So until you have that complete picture, it's hard to do that consultation, because that's what they want to know. It's all fine to say, that's great, my service is being enhanced, but we need to be able to also tell them it's only part of the plan. This is the offset, or this is what the whole picture looks like. So I don't imagine we'll be refined through this in the next month or two, and then you're into May municipal elections. So I imagine it'll probably around June before we do some serious in-depth consultation. Although we will be reaching out to certain stakeholders to develop the service and financial implications.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure the public knew it will happen. You're putting a little bit more meat on the bone, if you will, in terms of details, so that the public will have something substantial to absorb and give us feedback on.
Right, it has to be meaningful. Just high-level words isn't meaningful, right? So.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Committee, any questions for Mr. Fogan? Okay, John, go ahead.
Just a comment. You asked the question I was going to ask, but Ian, it sounds to me like everything's on the right track. You did say that it was going to take some time to meet with the stakeholders in the last slide. Like, when you say that, what's the time frame that you're thinking?
So it depends on the stakeholder. So if we're, and again, that depends on the objective and initiative. So if some of the initiatives are clearly involve one stakeholder more than another, we could be in discussions early with that particular stakeholder, but it wouldn't be public. It would be that kind of engagement. So we wouldn't go public consultation until we're prepared, until we're ready, until we have that meaningful piece. So you're probably talking June for really the public, but there could be, like I said, select stakeholder engagements before that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, City Manager, do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, Your Worship. I just want to manage expectations to a degree. Our intent is to have a final version of the strategic plan for December 2021. So I applaud Mr. Fogan's enthusiasm about public consultation in June. That will be ambitious for us to have the objectives and initiatives all in a sufficiently developed form to have those public consultations in June. What we commit to is we will most definitely have those public consultations. The timeline is still a little bit fluid, but the overall plan is to have it all complete by December of 2021.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess Councillor McKenzie had hit on my question on the timeline pieces, but I guess, Ian, I'd just say I like I like where we're headed. I like the vision. I like the idea of, I guess what caught my perspective is the idea of, I don't know if phasing out is the right word, but just the language around growth, around coming to a level of acceptance of it. I think that's a great strategy, and getting into the more how do we focus on livability as we continue? I think so much of our vision now is let's get to a point where we are reaching that level of sustainability in our vision. Let's get to the sustainable level of our vision first so that we can continue to, whether it's reducing our taxes or increasing municipal services, get to that level of sustainability so that we're not just constantly focused on growth for the sake of growth. The advantage we have with this 10-year strategic plan is so many cities have done this in the past, and so many cities have grown and are making decisions like we are now, and a whole bunch of them have screwed it up. So we have the benefit of now saying, okay, how can we take those experiences and apply them to this strategic plan? Because many of them are very similar in the exact situation that we are now, whether that was 10 or 15 years ago. Halifax is the example that comes to mind. But no, certainly appreciate the direction and excited to see where this goes.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, I don't see any other hands. I just make a couple of last comments. I think what this is going to cause, just building on what you just said, Councillor Hickey, it's going to cause really a disciplined, strategic decision making, because I think what we're recognizing, and I think the public is far more appreciative of and understands better over the last couple of years of how interconnected these pieces of the puzzle are. I won't pull out my mason jars, but I have my budget simulator in my mason jars that if you want to put more money into one jar, it's got to come from somewhere. It can come from growth, or it's going to come from another jar. So I think, the focus, Ian, that the committee has been having around quality of life and growth and thriving, and we know through various other conversations that we need to grow by 2,000 people a year to maintain our economy. All these things have to be woven into not only our goals and objectives and the specific, decisions that we're making, but every decision that we make, every budget will matter, where we put our resources, how we communicate, how we engage with the public, and so on. So anyway, it is a very ambitious project, I think, to the city manager's point, and we've got a municipal election in the middle of it, but it's a very ambitious project, and I think it's moving along quite nicely actually right now. Okay, thank you. Just to receive and file then, please, committee. Thank you, Deputy, and Councillor Hickey. Thanks. On the question, all those in favor? Thank you. Anyone contrary minded? Not seeing or hearing anyone. Thank you. Next up, we have 1.4 Dangerous and Vacant Building Program Update, and I think Ms. Poffenroth is going to introduce this for us.
Yes, Your Worship. So this afternoon, I'm pleased to present Ben Purinton. He's our manager of the Vacant Building Program. Ben has some interesting initiatives to share with members of the Growth Committee around the Vacant Building Program, and some ideas around moving us more towards repairing and reoccupying vacant buildings and encouraging developers and supporting property owners in making that transition to owning a vacant building to owning a now occupied building. So with that, I will hand it over to Mr. Ben Purinton. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Poffenroth. I'll just share my screen quickly. Can everybody see that?
Yes, Ben, we can.
Okay.
Sorry, Ben, I had my thumb up, but my camera wasn't on. I apologize. Yes.
No worries. Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of Growth Committee. Today I'll be providing an update on the Dangerous and Vacant Building Program. So to provide a brief summary of what I'll be presenting, I'll begin with a summary of the program and then discuss two new processes that will be implemented into the program in 2021. The first being the procedure for late-stage development proposals, which will be presented to Common Council later in the year, and the second being the developer notification list. I'll then be available to answer any questions on the presentation or the program. Beginning with the summary, the Dangers of Vacant Building Program monitors approximately 150 vacant buildings throughout St. John. The city can demolish a vacant building if it becomes a hazard to public safety, and the demolition process begins by staff issuing a notice to comply. Vacant buildings are currently ranked on a priority matrix based on hazard to public safety, and those that rise to the top of the matrix are evaluated for a notice to comply. As a result of Council's continued support of the program, the quality of the vacant buildings being monitored on the vacant building list have improved dramatically, and a majority of current cases are currently medium to low priority. This has allowed staff to dedicate more resources to proactively resolving cases through repair and reoccupy. So although demolition is necessary in some cases, it is not the goal of the program. The goal of the program is to see vacant buildings become repaired and reoccupied, as this is a quicker way for the city to see an increase in tax-based growth. Currently, approximately 2/3 of resolved vacant building cases are resolved by being repaired and reoccupied. In 2020, we met our revised targets of 50 resolved cases, and in 2021, we look to continue momentum from previous years to achieve numbers similar to when the program was fully operational. 2 new processes are being implemented in 2021, and both will allow staff to address cases more effectively to see a higher percentage redeveloped. So the first new addition to the program is the procedure for late-stage development proposals. And as a result of the improved quality of the vacant buildings on the list, we've also seen an increase in the number of development proposals made on buildings that have been recommended for demolition. When these extensions have been provided in the past, the rate of success was low, and this is problematic as the buildings have demonstrated that they're a clear hazard to public safety. When these extensions are unsuccessful, it results in the building remaining a hazard for an extended period of time. Due to the recent increase in these types of proposals, council directed staff to develop a procedure for when these situations arise, and the requirements for an extension of this nature will ensure that the developer is both capable of and committed to redevelopment. And this procedure will be presented to Common Council later in the year. So the procedure will be applied to any proposal submitted on a dangerous and vacant building that Common Council has approved for demolition. Staff will evaluate proposals under defined criteria to determine if the proposal warrants a delay in enforcement action, and the procedure will require that the developer pay a deposit that will be returned upon completion of the project. The intent is to ensure that only complete proposals are considered to increase the success rate if a late stage delay is granted. Late stage proposals will be evaluated under 5 criteria, and 4 out of the 5 criteria must be met for a delay to be granted. So the first criteria is ownership status, and staff will assess whether the proposal is being made by the current owner or someone who has made arrangements to obtain ownership in the near future. For redevelopment schedule, staff will require that the developer submit a redevelopment schedule that contains a complete comprehensive timeline for the project, and this schedule will need to be approved by staff. For developer experience, the developer or someone on their team must demonstrate some experience completing a project of similar scale in the past. For market knowledge, the developer must demonstrate a general understanding of the St. John real estate market. And for financing, the developer must prove that they either have or can obtain the funds necessary to complete the project. As previously mentioned, a deposit will be required to delay enforcement action, and Growth and Community Services and General Counsel are currently working to determine the best method to take said deposit. With the procedure in place, the requirements for a late stage extension will be clearly defined, which will increase the success rate in the event that this type of proposal is entertained. The procedure will ensure that only complete proposals from committed developers are considered. This will reduce any associated risk with delaying enforcement while also providing an opportunity for these buildings to be redeveloped if the right developer comes forward. So moving on to the next edition of the program, the developer notification list is an email list of developers that staff will have available when working with property owners on vacant building cases. City staff will use the list to connect developers to vacant building owners interested in selling their property. This provides a proactive solution to vacant building owners who are unable to currently renovate their buildings, and a change in ownership could allow the buildings to be repaired earlier on in the enforcement process, which is becoming a higher priority due to the improved quality of the list. With owner permission, a typical email would provide developers with detailed information on the property, including interior photos, contact information for the owner, and any other relevant information. The intent is to ensure that the developers can make an educated decision on whether the project is worth taking on. If interested, They are provided a contact through which they can arrange to purchase the building. And if the building is a good value proposition, the owner will be contacted by interested developers looking to buy the building. This could allow the owner to find a buyer and through which they can work to arrange a sale. So staff will use the developer notification list to proactively target properties that have not moved or that have not moved forward due to current ownership not having the ability to do so. However, we'll also be able to provide this service to any vacant building owner who requests it. And the developer notification list will provide balance to the enforcement process and allow staff to take a more proactive approach to vacant building redevelopment. So to summarize the presentation, the procedure for late-stage development proposals will clearly define what is required for a late-stage proposal to be entertained, and it will ensure that the developer is both committed to and capable of redeveloping a building. The developer notification list will provide a solution for vacant building owners who are unable to redevelop their properties but are willing to sell. With these processes in place, staff will be able to address cases more effectively, improving the quality of life for citizens and acting as a catalyst for further growth. And with that, I'll finish up and stop sharing my screen, and I'm available to answer any questions on the presentation or the program.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ben, Amy, team, Chris, and others that have worked to modernize. It's really nice to hear that we've moved from the level of incredibly serious cases to now better stock, better supply. I think we were at, 50 to 60% of the buildings being rehabilitated. I think that might mean that we could actually increase that number now, which is exactly what certainly the most engaged and passionate St. Johners that I've heard from want. So I guess what I'm saying is I think we want the exact same thing. So we'll go to a couple of questions, and then I have a couple of thoughts as well. Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Worship. This is excellent, Ben. This is what we've needed for a long, long time. And so just a couple questions for clarification, okay? On the late stage development, so those properties can only be addressed after council agrees that they need to be demolished. Is that correct?
So the procedure will be applied to if we receive a proposal on a building that has been approved for demolition. So if we move forward to the end of the enforcement process and we receive a proposal for for rehabilitation of a building that's been approved for demolition, we'll enact the procedure and to ensure that the developer is capable of the redevelopment. Okay,
so these buildings could be actually saved, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. No, I think, and the other thing that comes to mind too is there's always been a perception out there that it takes us so long to get to that point, but with the developer notification list, that I think is going to address a lot of that. So, you know, instead of it taking 5 or 7 years, we could have a property change hands in a couple of years or something and look good within 3 or 4 years. I think it's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hickey, and then I'll go to you, Deputy. Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks to you too, Ben. Yeah, terrific program. I've always been a fan of it as it stands, and this is a great step in the right direction, I think, towards making sure that both that we're not continuously tearing down, but trying to repurpose and use the buildings that we have and use the infrastructure that exists in the city. I think it's tremendously positive. I just wanted to just for committee's sake. One of the properties that we had recently torn down on Xmas Street is right beside where my brother lives, and I just the amount of work and the amount of staff time, and we make a decision like that so quick. I think it took 5 minutes at one of our open meetings to discuss it, but the amount of staff time, the amount of work, and the amount of different contractors that are engaged in these kind of projects is really significant. So the amount of work that goes into these projects is not to go unrecognized, and I think that's all I want to add. So thanks very much, Ben, and excited to see this continue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
Just wanted to clarify for sure. So once it goes to council and we say, okay, it's okay for demolition, then if somebody comes in like they do at the last moment and you go through the checklist of everything they have to have in place and they're okay to go ahead to build up the building and renovate it, is there a time period? Like some of the buildings that I can think of, you know, like the bakery on City Road, the building down on Broad Street, it could take years. So do you allow that time? Like, you know, if I was going to renovate the building, could I take 2 or 3 years to do it?
I think 2 or 3 years would be a long time. Generally, what we would be looking for is for the entire project to be wrapped up in a year. In most cases, especially where these projects are, or where these properties are a hazard to public safety. We are going to be requiring that a redevelopment schedule be submitted, and we're going to be looking for intermittent timelines throughout that redevelopment schedule that may address some of the immediate hazards in the short term, to kind of try to mitigate the immediate hazard so that a project like that could go on maybe for a year's time. Okay.
The other thing I was just wondering, like, how do you, does the city have to contact the owner? Say council passes it for demolition, then somebody else comes up and says, no, I'd like to renovate the building. I think I can do whatever. And the city approves. Then do you have to contact the owner of the building and get them to agree to sell the building? Or does it on the owner or what?
So one of the criteria that we had was ownership status. So we'd be looking for the developer who comes forward to either have ownership of the building or have a detailed plan as to how they're going to obtain ownership. Basically, what we would be looking for is a sale agreement.
So the developer, whoever it may be, would sort of look into the ownership of the building and then make those arrangements.
That's right.
Before they came to the city.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wondered how much work it would involve for city staff. You know, how I think it's a great idea if it can work. You know, if people are agreeable, I'm sure sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. But anyway, it's a great idea. It's thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy. Okay, thanks again, Ben, for the presentation. I'm just back to Councillor McKenzie's earlier comment. If you're at that, by the way, your criteria is fantastic for the last minute, you know, folks stepping in. I mean, you have to be credible. You have to have a plan. You have to have a path to ownership. You have to have financing. And prior to that meeting of council, then you could be on the other list, which is trying to match people up. So I think this is really a very solid step in the right direction. You know, there are a number of what I would call, you know, really passionate, thoughtful thinkers about this issue in particular. And I did have a meeting with Ms. Poffenroth and Mr. McKeel with Chris about, you know, open lists and listed for sale and a wide range of, you know, dealing with everything from illegal parking once a building's taken down to enhanced bylaws to legislative challenges that we face. How can we change our enforcement? So just to say to those members of the public that have approached or have been having these conversations online, you know, we hear you, you know, this is a step. And certainly if there are, you know, from my perspective, at least, I'm not trying to put any words in your mouth, Ben, or city manager or Amy, but if there's other enhancements, you know, down the road here that we can put in place, we will. But I think the objective was, how do we save? How do we reinvest with the concerns around affordable housing? How do we save more of these buildings? And if they can be saved, let's get them reinvested in and brought back to life. So I think with your two programs today, it's an enhancement to the program, and then you know, some of those other issues, we can continue to have good dialogue about them. Often I think end up in a spot where we don't have the legislative authority that we need, or maybe the legislative freedoms that we need, which is so often the case. But for today, I think it's a great step in the right direction. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and I hope that we can get anybody that wants to be on that developers list. to get that program launched as quickly as possible so we can get these homes sold. I get it. It's not a criticism. If an owner, a current owner, cannot move the house forward, let's get it into the hands of somebody that can, and let's save as many of these homes as we possibly can as well. So thank you very much for all the work, Ben, Amy, and everyone else that have been involved. And so we'll just take a receive and file. I guess it seems a bit underwhelming to just receive and file it, but thank you. Councillor McKenzie, Councillor Hickey, thank you on the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any. Thanks. Motion's carried. Next up, we have Growth 2021 Work Plan, and I had Mr. Ouellette on my list to take us through this. Phil, over to you.
Thank you, and through your worship, I will do a presentation shorter than our city managers. So I will see if I can become the winner. It is common practice with the Growth Committee that we share with you a work plan. This work plan is really, it should be seen pretty familiar to you. It is comprised of all the projects identified in the city manager's corporate work plan. However, what we've done is just detail out their specific links to growth, how they'll interact with growth. It's a great process to set these priorities in the front end, monitor, evaluate the success, and then learn on what worked well and what didn't. It also gives a flavor to Growth Committee on what projects the committee will engage in throughout the coming year. I'm not going to go through every item. I'm certainly available to answer any questions, and there's a variety of people on this call that can as well. But just a couple general observations. One is that when we say that the corporation is all about growth, one thing that you would be looking for in this is, well, is it just one department leading all the growth projects is an obvious question. And if you look through this, you'll notice that there are a variety of projects across the corporation not led by Growth and Community Services. It is a vast network of individuals who will be leading projects that have an impact on growth. The other one that I notify is the amount of partners in our community that will be involved in the development and the pursuit of these projects. There's another column on that. And that's another thing noteworthy is the city will not be able to achieve all its growth-related objectives by itself, nor does it want to. It requires the expertise and support from a variety of community groups, which are also identified in the work plan. The last thing that I wanted to identify is usually this growth work plan would accompany, probably everybody's favorite part, is a list of KPIs and targets. This year, we have held off on that. We still hope to do that. It might be a little retroactive. And the big reason why is that we want to align with the upcoming performance measurement program that was shared with you earlier. And also, we want to make sure that we align with the economic development envisions KPIs that will be established this year too. And when we present those, we'd like to present them all, not just from the corporate perspective, but also with the Economic Development Agency. So that's not lost to us, the importance of that, and it will be updated once we integrate that feedback. So with that, I'm available for questions if there are any.
So, Phil, I know you won. You were shorter than the city manager, but you know, I don't know if those are. I'm not even sure if we're live broadcasting right now, or folks in the thousands will watch this afterward. And you know, I certainly plan on sharing out a lot of these materials. But I think you did highlight how integrated the conversation of growth is now in all aspects of the the organization. And I think that I'm coming at it from a couple of perspectives. One is, for the general public to understand how much we work on, and it's complex. Like if we could just snap our fingers and grow, we would do it. It's complex. The conversations are complex. The work plans are complex. So I think, having the public understand we're in the it seems like a municipal election is not. We know it's upon us, but we certainly. I'm going to bet today we're going to have over 50 candidates. I think that's a good sign. It means that people really want to get engaged in their community, and I think it's important that folks understand how complex these issues are, because as we know through campaigns, there's a lot of promises made, and I'm not punching at anybody. I'm just saying there's a lot of promises made, a lot of complexity. So somehow, getting folks to understand, as citizens and as candidates, just how complex our growth and our finances and reforms and all those things are. So certainly going to be continuing to chat with the city manager about, the possibility of information sessions or what have you. The other piece that I just wanted to pick up on what you said, Phil. I think that, and I'm not saying it's necessarily true, but I think there's an inherent belief that all governments aren't open, aren't transparent, and certainly from my perspective, the municipal governments are the most transparent level of government there is. I mean, you come to our cabinet meetings every 2 weeks. They're called open council. Every decision is ratified, made in open session of council. So, but I think ingraining that wherever we are today, moving forward, ingraining that in every bit of this organization, open, transparent communication about our goals, targets, how we've achieved, including agencies, boards, commissions, I think is really important to build the confidence in the communities, as well, because I just think that those few words that you said are incredibly important, and I'm not going to read out every item, but there are 16 work plan items that you were speaking to today in the plan that I'll certainly be sharing, and I would encourage everyone watching to go to the city's website under committees, under agendas, and have a look. But I just really speaks to the level of volume of incredibly important work that the teams here at City Hall work on a daily basis. So anyway, I'll stop there. I just think it's simple, it's complex, and I think my biggest fear is we're going to have a bunch of folks making, and I'm going to be very careful. I'm not trying to be too political, but it's there's a lot of information out there, and I encouraged anyone running again today, read all the foundational documents, so at least you know where you're starting from. So I'll stop there. Thank you for your words today, Phil, and for the work from you and the team. Any comments or questions on the 21 work plan as presented? Okay, well, and I'll just finish then by saying, Phil, obviously we achieve on some of the critical components there, like reforms and others. It changes the future of this city and this region because we're tied at the hip. So, okay, thank you. Receive and file then, please. Thank you, Deputy. Seconded by Councillor Hickey. Thank you. On the question, all those in favor? Thanks. Anyone contrary-minded? Okay, thank you. And last but not least, we have a development activity update from Ms. Amy Poffenroth. Hi, Amy.
Hello again. Thank you, Your Worship. So pleased to provide a brief update on a development activity in our office and the city in the last month or so. So we are still quite busy with a large number of development files. We have a number of large projects that are under construction, a number of them that are under review, and quite a few that are in the pre-application phase. For instance, with respect to pre-application meetings, now if you recall, pre-application meetings are for large major projects. We've had 7 of those since our last update a month ago. So that's more than one a week. These are major large-scale projects. So we're very excited about that and are happy to be working with this potential developers who are working on some quite significant and exciting projects. Some are at the very early conceptual stage. Some are, talking about projects that are going to be starting this year. So very good news there. As I'm sure you've seen and have heard, we're very active on the planning applications. This, of course, is very indicative of a busy construction season ahead of us. Very busy planning advisory committee meetings the next couple of months, followed by council public hearings, the Ethos Ridge project, where we know is going to PAC this evening. That's a 125 unit residential retirement community. We have a project at 300 Sydney Street, a large scale residential project that is going to the Planning Advisory Committee in April, followed by council in April as well. Really pleased to see 439 Prince Street. This is the previous Ganon property on the west side, where Viva Developments is proposing a townhouse development. So hopefully to finish off that project that started years ago, they are going to Planning Advisory Committee in March and Council in April. Those are just some examples of what we have coming the next few months. So all good news there. As I mentioned, very active on construction. We see activity on Main Street, Canterbury Street, Lower Cove Loop, Wentworth, as you know, active, well underway. Wellington Row, the nonprofit housing project, we understand is going to be starting soon, and work in Milledgeville as well. So really some strong activity and growth throughout the city. With respect to permit numbers, just to give you where we are today from the beginning of the year. So that's including up till, I think just yesterday, so mid-March, we've issued just over 85, I think we're at 87 building permits with a value of just over $8 million, which is a good start to 2021. I have spoken with Growth before about turnaround times with some computer challenges, which is definitely getting better. Our turnaround times we're working on those to improve them, to make sure that we're ready for the busy construction season to deliver as close to our turnaround times as we can. And I can provide more information on that next month as well. And with that is the very quick development activity report.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Councillor Hickey.
Thanks very much, Your Worship. Thanks, Amy. Thrilled to see all these updates. Great to see them. Nothing specific, but I was proud to be part of that. Sorry, I forget the number you just said, but over $1 million of permit applications this week. And I just wanted to say, member of your staff, another Amy, spelled a bit different than yours.
Yes.
Extremely helpful. I went in. I don't think she knew that I was a counselor, and so I think I got the real treatment, which was superb. Walked me through everything. I didn't really know what I was talking about on a few things, and helped me out on a couple things. I even screwed up the form after I've submitted it, and she called me back and helped me right out. So thank you very much to your staff. I think it really shows, because I've certainly heard stories from the past. I think it shows the cultural shift that is happening, that has happened, and I think it shows the willingness and the eagerness of staff to work with folks to make sure that those are getting across the line. So very exciting, and thanks very much to your team.
Thank you so much for sharing. I will be happy to share that with our team.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Worship. Great update, Amy. Lots going on in the city. I'm wondering if there's going to be any conflicts that we're aware of where we're going to be doing road work in an area where we've got development going on, and if it's going to conflict, with regards to progress on projects or road work.
Yeah, through your worship, Councillor, that's a great question. And with the exciting news of the bilateral funding last week, we hope to see a lot of construction activity, infrastructure activity. That being said, we are coordinating, and we do work closely with our colleagues at the Rossa Avenue offices. So we are working to be sure we can coordinate as much as possible, but those projects are coordinated with our team. So we will do our best, and hopefully there won't be too many bumping into each other. Yeah, but
Thank
we will keep that in mind. It's a very good point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Deputy, did you have?
It's a great report. It means the city's moving forward and lots of projects. I don't have any questions. I think
Perfect.
growth is happening.
Thank you, Deputy. Look, I think you get what you focus on, and this council, this committee was formed to bring to life a roadmap for smart growth, a population growth strategy, KPIs, mandate letters. We've not been necessarily satisfied. I don't mean that in a negative way with our approach to economic development. That birthed Develop St. John. We've now evolved that to Envision St. John, the regional economic growth agency. We are seeing momentum. There's been, focus on customer service. There's been continued enhancement to the one-stop development shop. We've turned around a population decline for the first time in, almost decades. So I think you get, again, what you measure and what you focus on. So I think for, my wrap up, I know we're going to continue to do our best to enhance our communication around, communicating to the public. 80% of our revenue comes from tax base. We have to grow. The former chief economist for the province of New Brunswick has been working with the Multicultural Council of New Brunswick. Population growth is incredibly important. If you think about the number of people that are going to retire over the next 15 or 20 years, it won't be me. I dream about it, but it won't be me. But all those people that are going to retire are going to go out of the workforce. So we need to replace those people. We're not having as many babies as we were having at one time in our history. So we need a large amount of population and immigration. That's going to come interprovincially, but it's also going to come internationally. Mr. Campbell has projected we need 2,000 people, 40,000 people to move to the Greater St. John region over the next 20 years. I think we can do it. If we put the right plans in place, we work together, we remove the barriers as a region, we get comprehensive tax reform, we get equitable cost sharing in the region, and we have everyone understand that we're all ambassadors, why growth matters, that, we have a tremendous opportunity, Councillor McKenzie, in your ward to rebuild the original city and the old North End with the lots there, with the water and sewer there, with the connector between Main Street and the Uptown and the old North End. So everywhere I look, I see potential, I see opportunity, I see momentum. We just have to put the right plans in place, the right focus, invest our dollars in the right place, and have everyone understand that a positive attitude and being proud of where we live and proud of what we do can make a huge difference. And I see it online, people saying, I live in Vancouver and I want to live to Toronto, hey, St. John, I live in Vancouver, sorry, I want to move to St. John. What do you think? Should I do it? And sometimes, to be honest, I'm a little scared because I look at those posts and I say, please, St. John, celebrate all the great things that we do. And the last couple have been very positive. So every single one of us plays a role. That's my point. We've got a lot to celebrate here. We've got a lot of momentum. And every single day, the teams in this building and all over the city work hard to serve the citizens present and future of this great city. So thank you for a great committee meeting today. Thank you, staff, for all of the hours and hours and hours of preparation. And just need a motion to adjourn and wish you all a great day. David and John, thank you on the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Anyone contrary-minded? Okay, thanks. See you, Councillor Armstrong. Take care, everyone.